Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
You think you have married someone who is very reasonable. You are very wrong, my friend. Rule: sensitive beings are not sensible beings. Feelings are not arguments, reason is not pleasure, and pleasure is not a reason.
Oh,
Sir, she says. Reply,
yes.
You must say this, from deep inside your chest, as you run out of the house angry, or go back, confused, to your study. Why? Now? Who has beaten you, killed you, or defeated you? Your wife's logic, which is not the logic of Aristotle, nor that of Ramus, nor that of Kant, nor that of Condillac, nor that of Robespierre, nor that of Napoleon, but it has a bit of all these logics, and we must call it the universal logic of women, the logic of English women as it is that of Italian women, of the women of Normandy and Brittany. These last are the best, of the women of Paris, in short, that of the women on the moon. If there are women in that night land with which the women of the earth have a clear understanding, angels that they are. The discussion began after breakfast. Discussions can only happen in a house at this time. A man could not really have a discussion with his wife in bed, even if he wanted to. She has too many advantages over him and can easily make him silent. When leaving the bedroom with a pretty woman in it, a man is usually hungry if he is young. Breakfast is usually a happy meal, and happiness does not lead to arguments. In short, you do not start talking about serious things until you have had your tea or your coffee. You have decided, for example, to send your son to school. All fathers are liars and never want to admit that their own child is very annoying when it walks around on two legs, touches everything, and is everywhere at once like a busy tadpole. Your son barks, meows, and sings. He breaks and dirties the furniture, and furniture is expensive. He makes toys out of everything. He spreads your papers around, and he cuts paper dolls out of the morning's newspaper before you have read it. His mother says to him, about anything of yours, take it. But about anything of hers, she says, be careful. She smartly lets him have your things so she can be left in peace. Her bad faith as a good mother hides behind her child. Your son is her partner. Both are teamed up against you like Robert Macaire and Bertrand against the subscribers to their joint stock company. The boy is a tool with which he steals things from your space. He goes either boldly or sneakily to take things from your wardrobe. He comes back wearing the clothes you put away that morning and brings out many items that were put away. He brings the elegant Madame Fishtamanal, a friend you try to impress, your belt for losing weight, bits of makeup for dyeing your mustache, old waistcoats discolored at the armholes, stockings slightly dirty at the heels and somewhat yellow at the toes. It is quite impossible to say that these stains are caused by the leather. Your wife looks at your friend and laughs. You don't dare to get angry, so you laugh too. But what a laugh! The unlucky ones all know that laugh. Your son, also, makes you very nervous if your razors are not in their place. If you are angry, the little troublemaker laughs and shows his 2 rows of teeth. If you scold him, he cries. His mother rushes in. And what a mother she is! A mother who will hate you if you don't give him the razor. With women, there is no middle ground. A man is either a monster or perfect. At certain times you fully understand Herod and his famous orders about the massacre of the innocents, which have only been surpassed by those of the good Charles X. Your wife has returned to her sofa. You walk up and down and stop, and you bravely start the conversation with this remark. Caroline, we must send Charles to boarding school. Charles cannot go to boarding school, she says in a calm tone. Charles is 6 years old, the age when a boy's education begins. First of all, she replies, it begins at 7. The royal princes are given to their governor by their governess when they are 7. That's the rule. I don't see why you shouldn't use the same rule for the children of regular people that is used for the children of princes. Is your son more advanced than theirs? The King of Rome. The King of Rome is not a good example. What? Is not the King of Rome the son of the emperor? Here she changes the subject. Well, I declare, you blame the empress, do you? Why? Dr. Du Bois himself was there, besides. I said nothing of the kind. How you do interrupt, Adolphe. I say that the King of Rome, here you start to raise your voice, the King of Rome, who was hardly 4 years old when he left France, is no example for us. That doesn't change the fact that the Duc de Bordeaux was given to the Duc de Rivière, his tutor, at 7 years. Logic. The case of the young Duke of Bordeaux is different. Then you agree that a boy can't be sent to school before he is 7 years old? She says firmly. More logic. No, my dear, I don't agree with that at all. There's a big difference between private and public education. That's exactly why I don't want to send Charles to school yet. He needs to be much stronger to go there. Charles is very strong for his age. Charles? That's just like men. Charles is very weak. He is like you. But if you are determined to get rid of your son, then put him in boarding school. I have noticed for some time that the dear child bothers you. Bothers me? The idea. But we are responsible for our children, right? It is time Charles's education begins. He is getting very bad habits here. He obeys no one. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. He hits everybody, and nobody dares to hit him back. He should be with kids his age, or he will grow up with a very bad temper. Thank you. So I am raising Charles badly. I did not say that, but you will always have good reasons for keeping him at home. Here the you becomes mutual, and the discussion turns bitter on both sides. Your wife is happy to hurt you by saying you, but she gets angry when it becomes mutual. The bottom line is that you want to get rid of my child. You think he is between us. You are jealous of your son. You want to control me easily, and you sacrifice your boy. Oh, I am smart enough to see through you. You make me look like Abraham with his knife. You would think there were no schools. So the schools are empty. Nobody sends their children to school. You are trying to make me look ridiculous, she says. I know that there are schools, but people don't send boys of 6 there, and Charles will not start now. Don't get angry, my dear. As if I ever get angry. I am a woman and know how to suffer in silence. Come on, let's talk reasonably. You have talked nonsense enough. It is time that Charles should learn to read and write. Later in life, he will find difficulties hard enough to disgust him. Here, you talk for 10 minutes without interruption, and you finish with a pleading well, with a tone that sounds like a very bent question mark. Well, she replies, it is not yet time for Charles to go to school. You have gained nothing at all. But, my dear, Monsieur Descartes certainly sent his little Julius to school at 6 years. Go and check the schools and you will find lots of little boys of 6 there. You talk for 10 more minutes without any interruption, and then you say another, well? Little Julius Descartes came home with chilblains, she says. but Charles has chilblains here. Never, she replies proudly. In 15 minutes, the main question is stopped by a side discussion on this point. Has Charles had chilblains or not? You argue back and forth. You no longer believe each other. You must ask a third person. Axiom. Every household has its court of appeals, which takes no notice of the main issue, but judges small matters only. The nurse is called. She comes and decides in favor of your wife. It is fully decided that Charles has never had chilblains. Caroline looks triumphantly at you and says these terrible words. There, you see Charles can't possibly go to school. You go out, breathless with anger. There is no way to convince your wife that there is no reason your son can't go to school because he has never had chilblains. That evening, after dinner, you hear this horrible person finishing a long conversation with a woman with these words. He wanted to send Charles to school, but I made him see that he would have to wait. Some husbands, at a time like this, explode in front of everyone. Their wives take their revenge 6 weeks later, but the husbands gain this. Charles is sent to school the very day he gets into trouble. Other husbands break the dishes and keep their anger to themselves. The smart ones say nothing and wait for the right time. A woman's logic is shown in this way on the slightest occasion, about a walk or the right place to put a sofa. This logic is very simple because it consists of only one idea, that which expresses their will. Like everything related to female nature, this system can be reduced to 2 algebraic terms, yes, no. There are also certain little movements of the head, which means so much that they may take the place of either.